Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Bourbon County podcast with Lauren and your co-host, Denver Gonzalez.
Boom! It is our fourth episode. I'm so excited. So we have a lot coming up on this episode today.
We have a lot of people that are going to give us a lot of good topics to talk about.
Absolutely. But first off, Bourbon County Judge Executive Mike Williams is joining us. I'm sure he'll have a slew of things to tell us about. We're also going to be joined by our good friend at Mustard Seed Hill, Victoria Benson. She is the president over there. And then it is Mental Health Awareness Month. We're going to talk to Rachel Stanley over at New Vista about some of the things that they've implemented to help youth in the communities that they serve. And then we're going to be joined by Andi Johnson over at Commerce Lexington to talk about a new initiative that they're implementing to help the region with workforce and talent attraction.
Yeah, we got a lot of jam-packed topics to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many things happening in Bourbon County, and that's so exciting. Specifically, we're going to move on to community events now.
Yep.
With Bourbon County being a community that doesn't have a ton of indoor space for big events, we really just pack a lot of things into those summer and warm months. So, this past weekend we had the Tour de Paris 5K, which was super well attended. I want to talk about Art Walk. Did you go to Art Walk?
I did not get a chance, so you're going to have to talk about that.
Holy moly. It was the most well attended, from a vendor standpoint, a community standpoint. It wasn't the best, most nicest weather that we've ever had for a spring art walk. I was really concerned that, the 55, 60 degree weather was going to keep people away, but tons of people showed up and showed out. They enjoyed getting out of the house, and really just, I always call the first spring art walk the kickoff to the summer festival season, and it shows up and they show up and show out.
That's the thing about Bourbon County. Any community event, any activities, Bourbon County shows up.
Yeah, and what a wonderful example of a wonderful community family event. The Art Walk is every year, so.
That's great. Yeah.
Commends to tourism for that. And then also I want to talk about the Fridays on Main series that we have coming up. Most of those will be the first Friday of June, August, and September. Those are the first Fridays of every month. The July one is actually going to be the second Friday of the month on July the 12th. This year we are having that series presented by Bluegrass Federal. So I'm really excited about that, having a presenting sponsor for that. We are going to have each of those events is going to be themed. The goal with Fridays on Main is to kind of draw people to the downtown area, identify it as a gathering area in the nighttime, so that way people can start seeing the downtown area as a place they can go have dinner, have drinks, have cocktails, enjoy each other. Each of those is going to be themed with like some sort of backyard games or volleyball, or I think we're going to do like a back to school party, and then we're going to do a taste of Paris on one of them. So,
oh wow, yeah.
I'm really excited.
There's a lot going on.
As we go into each month and develop them, we'll get more pinpointed on and talking about them. But I'm just really excited to see how we can make this into the best possible it possibly can be.
Yeah, and then we got the Best of Bourbon County Awards.
Yeah, that I'm super excited about because, every year, you guys always help me out with that too. We're doing that on August 29th this year. We're actually having a change of location, not because I don't love Mustard Seed Hill, but because, it's really good as the chamber to bring people out to locations that they might not have known about.
Absolutely.
So we're going to go out to Stepping Stone Farm this year to their new tent, and they put down a nice concrete pad and a big tent out there. And so I'm really excited to see, first off, to welcome our community out to Stepping Stone Farm and their new event location. But
yeah, it's very nice, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's nice. It's so nice. And then also to just, support another chamber member in that way.
100%.
So yeah, Stepping Stone Farm, August 29th. Save the date, A. B, we will soon be starting nomination processes for the awards as well.
How does that work? Just
so we put out nomination forms for all the categories, and people nominate based off of each of the categories, and then they send in their nomination. They're required to type up their reason for their nomination. And then once we get the nominations in, it doesn't matter how many times people have been nominated. It matters what the information about the nomination says.
Okay.
It doesn't, so like our board reviews the information about what's submitted about the business based off of, small business of the year, large business, whatever. And then our board reviews it, and then we vote as a board of directors.
Got it. Okay.
So
if you guys want to nominate someone, just fill it out.
Yeah.
And give a good description.
Yeah, that's the most important part, is that description. A lot of people end up just saying YZ Media, and they don't put anything underneath it. We look at the descriptive part of it, of like why these people deserve to win.
Got it.
So I do also want to talk about Festival on 5th. We normally it's a summer concert series. This year we're going to take it back to just one for various reasons, but we are going to take it back to July the 19th is going to be the date of that. And our goal is to do it up real big and real fun. So everybody save that date. July 19th is Festival on 5th this year. We're just doing that one date. Next year, we're going to bring it back to the full series. But this year, we're just doing one date.
So you got to be there for that one date then. If not, you're going to miss out.
Y'all put on your calendars. I don't have any other events. Do you have any other events in mind that you're thinking of?
As of right now, I think you said it all.
Those are my events that I have on the calendar. So you all be prepared for an awesome episode or awesome show coming up for the Let's Talk Bourbon County podcast, and stay tuned. And welcome to the top things affecting you guys in local government. Today we're joined by County Judge Executive Mike Williams. Thanks for coming today. We really appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
This is not a project of the county right at this point, but I do want to get your feedback on this. The Solid Waste and Recycling Convenience Center, I said that correctly.
Yes, you did.
Okay. I want to talk about that. This has been something that has been a long time coming. Well, actually, I feel like the turnaround on this project has been very quick. Let's talk about it.
The last 3 years, probably, since the West Side Neighborhood Association started pushing for that. The social injustice related to it has gone on for decades, nearly a century in Bourbon County. It was, as I mentioned the other day, the neighborhood was the path of least resistance to have solid waste deposits going in there, as it was in every community in Kentucky, I'm sure, and around the country. It wasn't unique to Bourbon County, because these were folks that did not have the resources to keep that from happening in their neighborhood. If you think about that being that facility, the current transfer station, which originally was a city dump, and every community had a city dump. It was converted to an incinerator in 1965. It eventually became a transfer station where solid waste materials were brought to it, and they're hauled to a landfill now. That's the current operation. But all of that activity takes place literally in the middle of a residential neighborhood. And these were folks that did not have the resources to resist it politically or monetarily. They didn't have money to hire lawyers to resist it and those kinds of things, where some of the more affluent neighborhoods in the community would have been able to do that.
Exactly.
So that's where we are, and the West Side Neighborhood Association has pushed hard to change that and to correct what is truly, literally a social injustice, probably the greatest one in Bourbon County since the Civil War, since the days of slavery, without question. That neighborhood is no longer predominantly African American. It certainly is. There's Caucasian folks that live there, there are Hispanic folks that live there, there are African American folks that live there. It is predominantly owned by outside landlords.
It's like 30% owner occupied or something?
Only 30% owner occupied, where 50 years ago, almost all the residences were owned by the folks that live there.
Yeah, I truly commend the work of the West Side Group, the work of you guys, the work of the City of Paris, for coming together as a joint viewpoint to say, hey, something needs to be done about this in order to help the neighborhood ever do anything that they want to do.
It's everybody has to think, would you want 50 garbage trucks going by your front door every day?
Absolutely
And that's
not.
what happens still today. Like I say, the solid waste is picked up today and is taken to that transfer station and then hauled to a landfill from there. So that truck traffic is constant. It's daily, including Saturdays.
It's going to be a big impact for the community that's been living there. I mean, it's been a joint effort from you guys, and I think it's really going to change the life of the community there once everything has been processed and everything.
It will.
This is just, it's a huge thing that's happening, but it's just the start of what can happen for that neighborhood.
You know, the city applied for and was granted a community development block grant to pay for a new facility, and now the legislature has granted $1.5 million to
Wow.
supplement
Huge.
that cost. So it's approximately a $4 million project to build a new facility. The city of Paris, the Paris City Commission, has pretty close to that amount of resources to build it now.
It's wonderful.
All the resources are going to be put into good use, which is the most important part too.
And the governor was there on, what day was it that we went? Wednesday?
Monday.
Tuesday, Monday?
Monday.
This week has gone by. And he was there and he was like, this is by far the most well-attended transfer station groundbreaking that we've ever had. And I was like, that just shows the community support for the project.
Of course it
100%.
is. You know, there were folks there from Frankfurt, there were folks there from Atlanta, from the Environmental Protection Agency, and the building of the new facility is the easy part. It's the reclamation of the current facility after it ceases operation that will be a monumental challenge, because solid waste has been deposited there literally for a century.
Yes.
We don't know yet
What
there.
all's underneath there.
We don't.
That's going to be interesting.
Wow.
Moving on, I could talk about this all day.
Yeah,
but-
it's a good topic.
So the increase in occupational tax from the fiscal
Yes.
court got approved last meeting.
Second reading was approved at last week's fiscal court meeting. We had held a public hearing. The occupational license tax in Bourbon County has been in existence for 30 years. The rate was set 30 years ago, 1994 originally, at 0.75%. It was the second lowest rate of all the Bluegrass Area Development counties, 17 counties. The only county that had a lower rate than Bourbon County was Mercer County, and Mercer County is going to deal with that as well. Lexington, for instance, has a rate of 2.25%. So we increased, yes, we increased the rate to 1.25%. Costs have gone up significantly in 30 years. Occupational taxes, net profit taxes, are the predominant revenue for most local communities in Kentucky. Property taxes are still a factor, but they are no longer the predominant revenue source. So it'll increase revenues in Bourbon County by about $1 million.
Nice. I mean, can you expand a little bit on how much that money helps you guys?
Well, if we didn't do this year, and governments are affected by inflation just like we as
We all are,
citizens
yeah.
are, without question.
Yeah.
We are the only level of government that is required by law to have a balanced budget. State government is not, federal government, as we well know, is not. County governments are required by Kentucky law to have a balanced budget. If we did not increase this rate, we would not have the money to pay our bills in the coming years, that's for sure. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, the local governments would have some surplus resources to deal with emergencies and things that you didn't anticipate. Every budget is a plan, but every budget is disrupted throughout the fiscal year, obviously, with things you don't anticipate or expect to happen, and you have to deal with them. If we did not do this, we would have been about $800,000 in the hole as far as having adequate resources to provide the same services that we provide today. So you get to a point where you start looking to cut cost and we're very frugal already. But when I say cut costs, you diminish staff, you diminish the benefits for that staff. And like any business, government, the most predominant expense for government is personnel, without question. But we're also dealing with what our nation is dealing with in regard to purchasing things. For instance, our joint EMS board 2 years ago ordered a new ambulance that cost $275,000, and we ordered the exact same ambulance this year was $485,000.
That's quite the difference.
That's
100%.
That's
It's huge.
100% increase in 1 year.
Yeah.
So that's what we're dealing with, without question. And if we want to continue to provide those same services, we have to increase the revenue.
So it's safe to say that it's well calculated to match the increase of cost.
Yes.
And it's obviously as to the benefit for the county as a whole. So
Yes.
One quick thing before we wrap up on this segment. I could talk all this stuff all day. Court sports are opening in June.
Yes.
You know, let's reflect on that. Like, we've come a far way with the park so far. We have $3 million that is coming up with the park as well, and you've also gotten some ARPA funding. Let's talk about all that.
The fiscal court, as did all counties in the United States, received American Rescue Plan Act funds. Fayette County did, Bourbon County did. Literally every county in the United States received funds from the federal government based on population primarily, but other factors as well. During the pandemic, driven legislation in Washington. So Bourbon County received just under $4 million. And we have the flexibility to use that money on the new recreation facility.
That's wonderful. Who knew back then? That who wanted to spend it on this?
Yeah, so we that along with the fact that the current or the just finished legislative session in Frankfurt granted us in their budget $3 million to use on this park. It says we now have approximately $7 million in cash that we can move on to the next venue. We're in the process of planning, trying to decide which one of those venues, whether it's baseball, softball fields, an amphitheater, soccer fields.
I know you're excited about that amphitheater.
Yes,
all of us.
I believe the amphitheater will be the most used venue in the facility, without question.
It's very exciting. And once again, I commend you all for moving this project along and making sure that it's checking off the boxes. And so in June, we'll be excited to see the unveiling and ribbon cutting with that
Yes.
court sports venue.
Court sports, tennis courts, basketball courts, and pickleball courts.
Wow, pickleball.
Yes.
That's a new trend right now. Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us today. And that is what you need to know on local government.
Thank you.
And welcome to the Best of Bourbon segment, where we talk about the positive things happening in Bourbon County. We're joined by Mustard Seed Hill President Victoria Benson. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Good. We're
Thank
happy
you.
to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Do you want to talk about some Mustard Seed Hill things?
Yeah, I'm excited to see what's all into that.
Yeah. Let's tell us what's happening at Mustard Seed Hill this summer.
Right now, I'm like, what do we not have happening right now, Mustard Seed Hill? So we are kicking off our wedding and event season. Obviously, from now until October, we will be wedding. We also started some new event series of our own. We've done some holiday teas, some themed teas.
Which looks so cute.
It's very cute.
I haven't made it out to one yet.
I know, you need to come and bring your little girl. She would love it. We also have some breadboard painting classes coming up, and then as soon as we get through all of that, we're going to be getting ready for Christmas, as you know, because that takes a while. Well, I've been planning since January.
Yeah. It's like the
Since it
turnaround
ended.
is immediate.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Like, you all continue to add each year. Tell us a little bit about why Mustard Seed got started and what the vision was out in Millersburg.
So Mustard Seed is owned by a nonprofit in Lexington, Community Ventures. We do comprehensive community development, right? So everything from housing to entrepreneurs, expanding their businesses, starting their businesses. And we do focused areas. So we've never done really a rural location before, and Millersburg had all of the things to make a successful community. We addressed what assets were available, and what was available was MMI, which was Mustard Seed Hill used to be Millersburg Military Institute. So we purchased it, started renovating it, wanting to honor the history because Millersburg has a rich history of education. So it was cool that Bourbon Christian Academy decided to come and be one of our business incubator clients. But it was all about creating a destination location in Millersburg to get people coming back to Millersburg. So weddings and events, business incubator, free business classes, and then our bed and breakfast on campus. So now that that's all complete, it's time to start phasing next to the downtown, get some entrepreneurs in there, get some homeowners in there, and hopefully that'll be complete and we can start phasing ourselves out.
That's awesome.
Well, you all expand a little bit on that. Like, what exactly are you all doing in the downtown district to kind of complete the story?
So right now we have historic commercial and residential properties that are going under extensive renovations right now. Once those are complete, we're already courting business owners and homeowners to go into those locations. And then it's about doing more. So after those are finished, we have more commercial spaces. Getting a restaurant in downtown, partnering with the city to renovate the park is going to be a really important piece to that. Creating community places, because all of those were taken away with MMI leaving, with all of the storefronts leaving, the fire leaving. The post office was the last community place where you could go and gather, and now that's gone.
Yeah.
So the park will be crucial to that, along with all of these storefronts.
Well, one of the Millersburg residents was just saying, we used to go and we used to talk to people there, and now we only go to the trailer, and it's available like on Saturday mornings from this time to this time, and that's the only time I can get my mail, and it's not a gathering space anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that will be important to bring back. There definitely is a sense in Millersburg of the love for community.
Yes, it's so much. I think a lot of people, their misconception is, lots of money, pretty buildings, and it's not that. I mean, it is that's being done to draw people in, but it's so much more about the community and creating those shared spaces and opportunities for people, just for neighborly love, because there's so much hospitality in that town. I feel like I'm cheating because I don't live in Millersburg, but I'm there a lot, and I feel like I have second families and friends and everything there. So just bringing those people back together.
And how has the reaction to the community, with all the different steps that you have taken in regards to, the different levels that you've added on?
I think at first there was some hesitation, as we know, because we came in kind of full force and cut down some trees that people were just shocked by, even though the trees were dead.
Oh, really?
So that was the first
Change.
Yeah, change is hard for anyone. It doesn't matter where you're at. And after that, and they were able to kind of see and experience, and we shared what the plan was and what the vision was, I think it's been well received, and people are on board and they're seeing that it's working. We're bringing in about 100,000 people a year to Millersburg, that's a lot of people.
Significantly different than what it was prior.
Right. So I think people are seeing like, this is working, and they are moving it forward, and they are trying to honor the past while bringing us into the present. So it's good now.
Good.
And correct me if I'm wrong, the goal eventually is to completely give all of it back to Millersburg and make it a taxable community.
So with all of these renovations on these properties, the value of the properties are going up, which means the taxes are going up. All of that's going back to the city. And then eventually our goal is to get everything to a good place and then kind of just step away and then do this again somewhere else.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great vision that you have in the future. I mean, I can only see it now that these community gatherings.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'll be like, I'm like, am I staying or am I going somewhere else? Because I've made so many connections just in this small period of time with these people that, I mean, they're just amazing. I love them.
Yeah.
Like, I stop at some of their houses on the way home, like, hey, we got a brownie today?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. That is our Best of Urban Positive Impact segment.
What's up, guys? Rel Delgado here from YZ Media, bring you the marketing tip of the month. Whether you're looking for a restaurant, a store, or a business here in beautiful Paris, we all rely on reviews to make our decisions. Leaving a review can take just a few minutes, but make a big impact. It's gonna help others find hidden gems and other stores that you also love here in town. And if you're a business owner, make sure to ask your clients to follow you online and leave a positive review. So next time you have a great local experience, remember, leave a review, whether it's Facebook, Google, or whatever. It matters. Now back to the podcast with Lauren in Denver.
And welcome to the Bourbon County Impact segment, where we talk about things happening in Bourbon County that are affecting our community. Today we're joined by Rachel Stanley with New Vista. She is a prevention specialist. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate it. First off, what we have been really involved with at the chamber level is the community health improvement plan. The reason the chamber is involved is because, economically, overall, it's really good to have a good overview of community health and to help improve economic development. So with that, one of the things that was identified in the community health improvement plan was mental health, in the mental health segment, specifically teens and young adults struggling so much with mental health. Talk about that, and first off, secondly, talk about some of the programs you all have implemented to help with these young kids or these young teens.
Yes, we have been seeing, based on our interviews that we've had and our participation with community members and other organizations, that they have observed and seen an increase in that mental health. We do offer a lot of programs that are funded through New Vista, the Prevention Center and the Central Bluegrass. There are some that we implement in schools directly for youth, and some that we offer to adult advisors, professionals, and parents that can also help them. So we can talk about the ones for youth first. We have Sources of Strength, and that is a peer-led, peer-to-peer, in-school, suicide prevention program. And this is where we take youth who are kind of at the core of each of their friend groups. We don't select a leadership group of students or the gifted students. We select students from all different kind of cliques or clubs, And the influential ones. So we select the students who seem to have the most influence among those peer groups, so that we teach them these skills and sources of their strength that they can help combat times when they are feeling like they're really suffering mentally. So we develop those skills, and once we teach these particular students how to do that, then they can go and share that information with their peers. So it spreads across the entire school. Bourbon has expressed interest in this program, and we are actively working
with the chip that we're trying to.
Yes, we're actively working alongside the health department to get this into the schools, and things are looking good. We don't have that green light yet, but it is something we're working toward right now. They seem really interested, and I believe it has been done in the past.
It'll be such a positive impact.
Absolutely.
It's important. I think it's important for teens to they don't listen to us. Like, in their mind, we're old. Like, I'm old at this point. Who knew? But they don't listen to us. We're not. That it's better for them to hear it from each other.
Absolutely.
So
we found that as well. This is an evidence-based program.
I think that's wonderful. I mean, I think that especially from what I've noticed in these young teens is that the pandemic has really affected them. Can you expand on that a little bit? I know that you talked about how the data isn't quite there yet, but what have you guys seen so far?
Yeah, so we do have youth groups. That's another thing that we do. We established youth empowerment groups through a program called Youth Substance Use Prevention Skills Training. And through those groups, a lot of them come to us and tell us what they see and what they hear in their schools with their peers. So we get that kind of directly. They've shared that there's a lot of isolation, a lot of mental isolation, a disconnection between students and their parents. And other adults around them. And with these youth empowerment groups, it's also kind of peer-led. They do research, and we also fund their programs, their projects that they have through grant money that we help them get those skills and that training for, so that they can apply for that. And they'll go out into the community or with their schools and share this information about substances, about mental health, and about all of this. It's newer, and so we're waiting to see that, but there's a lot of prevention stuff that is being created, being pushed since COVID that wasn't there quite before.
And how would you answer, the stigma that there is about, mental health not being important, or, teens might be saying, "Oh, I'm fine. I don't need this." What would you say to the youth, that has that mentality?
Yeah, so I would say to a youth that had that mentality, you're not alone. Like, so many people feel this way, and it's not just youth. It's
The numbers
everyone.
were astounding with the number of kids that were struggling with mental health in this community.
Yes.
I think it was like over 50% by the time they got from sophomore year to senior year. It was like over 50% was struggling with some sort of mental health issue.
Yes.
And I was like, what changes from sophomore year to senior year? Mm-hmm. So it's astounding to see that the data is there to show that like they are struggling so much with it.
Yes, the data points that there is a need. There's a strong need, and it's not just Bourbon too. It's everywhere. It's all over our region. It's all over our state. It's all over our country. And because of that, I think people are looking at prevention and like the programs that we have.
And starting it younger and younger.
Younger and younger. That's right. And these youth, can then help those underneath them who are rising up in the grades. If we give them those skills, and if we show them that it's not all hopeless, like you can get through this. And I love the programs that we have and the trainings that we offer, because they're all evidence-based, evidence-informed, and they have been proven to work. And there has been culture change in schools that we've seen through some of the things that we offer.
Wonderful. It is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes.
So how can we as adults help our kids that we see struggling, and how can we be aware of that? Like, how can we be aware of mental health in students?
Mm-hmm. So first and foremost, we know that sometimes there can be maybe trust barriers between youth and students. We know that there may be some education that needs to be shown to adults, to parents. Sometimes we just don't know what they're going through directly. And we have done research, and we do meet with community members and focus groups and youth to gather that information as accurate as possible. And so what I suggest is to do research, to educate ourselves so that we know how to best help those young people around us, and maybe reach out to the prevention center. And if you have an organization or a group of adults or parents or staff that you want educated in youth mental health, to let us know, and we'll be happy to come and do that for them.
Absolutely.
Sounds great.
Well, thank you for joining us today. And that is our Bourbon County Impact segment. And today we're joined by Andi Johnson. She is the Chief Policy Officer and Director of Regional Engagement with Commerce Lexington. And we're calling this segment A Chat with Commerce Lexington. And I want to talk about some of the things that you all have been doing the last few years. First off, the regional strategic plan that you all have developed over the last few years. Let's go into the history of that.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here on the podcast. This is my first podcast, so it's exciting. So the Regional Competitiveness Plan is what we're calling it. It's a very sexy name.
Yes.
And so really it's been a collaboration. It's been a team effort with regional leaders, both government leaders and business leaders from the 9-county region. And as you know, the 9-county region is Lexington and all the surrounding counties that touch Fayette County, including Frankfort, Franklin County, and Montgomery County. So that has been our economic development footprint for 20 plus years. And how this got started, this regional competitiveness plan, is regionalism itself is not a new thing. We've been doing that since Toyota located here in the 80s. Economic development professionals like Gordon Wilson and Jenna Greathouse and Commerce Lexington, they've been working together for 30 years. They've known for a long time that we have to market ourselves as a region from a workforce perspective, from a business site perspective, to even be on the map to compete against larger cities that we typically go up against for big projects. And then from a policy standpoint, we've been working together on state and federal issues. Chamber executives have been working together for probably more than a decade on leadership programs in the region. But in the last few years, we've all seen it. Change is happening fast. Economic change, what the workforce is looking for, quality of life. There are a lot of issues that are swirling around that in order to really be in the game for people and for jobs, we've got to get more intentional about how we work together. And that was how this plan started. That was the genesis of it. We had business leaders that said, guys, we got to get together. We got to figure out how we compete on a stronger level. Government leaders said the same thing. And you really had the right people in place to come together to really thoughtfully look at the data and to come together and say, what are those strategic items that we really need to get more intentional about working together on in order to attract more jobs here to the region and really keep more people here, because the competition for people has never been stronger. I mean, we just don't have enough people to fill the jobs. So we got to try to keep our talent here, and then we're going to have to go out and compete for them across the country to try to get them to locate here in Central Kentucky.
Can you expand a little bit on the issue that you're saying, that, you know, about how we're losing people to the surrounding, I guess, cities? Or
Yeah, sure. So when we started this process, we worked with the consultant Ted Abernathy with economic leadership out of North Carolina. Ted and his team work with 26 other states. They've actually worked here in Kentucky before with the Kentucky Chamber on economic development plans, competitiveness strategies. And so they led a group of 45 plus regional leaders. Again, it included business, government, education. They all represented the 9 counties. And just we looked at the data and we looked at, you know, what was our economy doing? What was the workforce doing? And I think one of the most, I would say for me, one of the most alarming statistics was the region is growing, but it's growing slowly. And particularly when you look at young professionals, folks that are in that 25 to 45 category, I mean, we were retaining maybe 600 folks a year, or attracting those people to the region. Yeah. And when you think about the landscape here, we've got 10 colleges and universities right here in a 30 to 45 minute radius. You have nearly 20,000 graduates that are coming out of those universities every year. And we really were like, we've got to be more intentional about how we keep folks, how we introduce them to jobs and quality of life in the region. So if they do go away, they think about us when they're ready to settle down and really have roots. Yeah. So that slow growth, particularly in that category, young professionals, that became one of the key goals of this plan. So there's really 3 goals. So when you think about the regional competitiveness plan, it's to attract more jobs to the region, to increase the wages that people are making, and then to figure out how we grow our workforce, particularly those young professionals. So the action items, the strategies are all pointed back over the next 3 years to really see growth in those areas.
It's very, very important.
Let's talk a little bit about the marketing implementation.
Sure.
What is that called? What does that look like? What's that going to look like for the region over the next few years?
Absolutely. So the plan itself, again, there's 7 key strategies. The regional leaders said, look, we don't want to have this big old strategy that sits on a shelf and there's like 20 or 30 things that we know we need to work on, but because it's so many things, it feels overwhelming. And they were very clear that we just needed to focus on a handful of things that were going to make an impact, the low-hanging fruit. And the marketing aspect of this really rose to the top of the list, because what you're finding is that telling your story, marketing a region is becoming, it's the number one thing, particularly when you're trying to attract people, because they're not only looking for where can I work, what are the job opportunities, they want to know about quality of life. You know, what's the cost of living? Where do I find a house? Where would my kids go to school? How safe is the region? What are the fun things to do? And we really don't have any resource out there that provides that information in an easy location. And 70% of people are looking online for information. So whether it's a website or on social media, they're looking there first to figure out, you know, if they even want to try a place out. So our visitor industry folks have been doing an excellent job for years and years working together to market the region. So we do market to visitors and we do market to businesses from an economic standpoint. But when you're thinking about talent and people to live here and work here, that space has really been blank. So one of the key aspects of this strategy is to have a website, a presence where we're marketing the region as a place to live and work and fun things to do. And then having a social media strategy around that. It's not just marketing Lexington, it's marketing all the communities in the region, because we've all got unique assets that if we leverage that messaging together, we're going to be stronger, and it's going to have a greater marketing impact for the people that we want to be here.
That's everything too. I mean, nowadays everyone does research on anything.
That's right.
So it's, you know, doing that is just going to be a big game changer.
That's right.
Yeah.
And over time, like, how are we going to know the successes
So I think, you know, for marketing, there's industry standards about how many people visit your website, what types of clicks, what sites they're visiting. Are you all getting more hits on your local tourism site or with your businesses? So the talent website itself will have a jobs board that lists regional companies. If you've got your jobs listed on Indeed, it's going to feed right into that. And there will be a page for each community to showcase themselves. So I think initially it'll be who's clicking on it? Are we getting those impressions through the social media strategies, which will really market quality of life themes and communities in general? So you start to see it through those industry measurements. And then hopefully, you know, over the next 3 years, we'll start to see those numbers rise within those key categories. So you've kind of got some micro ROI things that you'll look at related to the strategies, and then we're going to be watching the numbers to see if we're really recruiting and retaining more people in those demographics and those ages.
Awesome.
Yeah, so you mentioned Greater Lex. I mean, that's kind of the overarching Greater Lex, Kentucky's Bluegrass region. One of the first things we had to do was say, what do we call ourselves? What's our identity? If we're going to tell our story as a region, who are we? How do we give me common language, you common language to say, this is the place? And that was the hardest thing to do because we all have unique identities, but to come together under one name, one theme, that was the first thing that we did a year ago, was to work with a national consultant that does marketing strategies for states and cities across the country. And they really encouraged us based on the research and the data. You know, we looked at the 4 cities where we're losing people to: Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Nashville, Chicago, and did surveys of young professionals in those areas. And the biggest thing they found is that people were just unknown. They don't know about us. And so you've got to give people, they really had a hard time even locating us on a map, as hard as that is for us to believe.
Yeah.
Because when you say Central Kentucky, when people see it, that could be different locations. So that was the first thing, is just to give them a digital marker. And the recommendation, because the airport call letters are LEX, our tourism folks through Visit Lex have already kind of put a lot into marketing the region under that brand. And because Lexington is the largest MSA, to lean into LEX was, if we're thinking about an external audience, that was the recommendation, to say Greater Lex, Kentucky's Bluegrass region. But in any kind of materials that we have, the map of the 9 counties will be front and center. Any of the messaging that's out there is going to encompass all of the communities in the brand, because we're really better together. Again, we've all got unique assets that we want to leverage. You know, on our own, we're not as successful, but if you market quality of life, housing, jobs, the unit is strong, the package is stronger than each of us individually. So that's what this really is about, is we're better together and just maximizing the impact so that we all can have more jobs and more people here in the region.
That's great. I mean,
Yeah,
you said it all. I'm
Absolutely.
speechless.
Well, thank you for joining us, Andi. And that
Yeah,
is
glad to be
a
here.
chat with Commerce Lexington.
Thank you. All right, now this segment is From the Chamber.
That's me.
Take it away, Lauren.
So we do want to talk about, we just did our, one of our first fundraisers of the year, which was the Tour de Paris 5K. You know, another fundraiser that we do, which is, our fundraisers are super important because they help us be able to do more impact for the community throughout the year. You know, our various programming that we do, Leadership Bourbon County, Youth Leadership, other events and programming, lunch and learns, various things like that. They help us, you know, keep these things out in the community and keep the chamber going and flowing. So I do want to talk about our golf scramble. It is May 31st out at Houston Oaks Golf Course. This is one of our bigger fundraisers for the year. It's $400 a team, $500 for a corporate sponsorship, and $100 for a whole sponsorship. So I do want to make everybody aware of that. You know, come out, support the chamber, enjoy lunch by Kendall's Up and Smoke Barbecue.
Yum. Yes.
On us. And then everybody gets 2 cocktail tickets, or beer or wine tickets, with their purchase of their team as well. So come out, see us, enjoy a day on the golf course, talk to people, visit with people. Are you a golfer?
I'm not, but that day I will be.
You can come out and
Yeah,
play.
I'll be there, at least for the food.
Yeah, I'll complimentary on us.
Yes.
So that's coming up. You know, next month I do want to talk about our annual community impact report as well. our next month is our last month of the year for the fiscal year is what we run on. And so I do want to talk about some of the things and initiatives that we've done throughout the year as well. Our next podcast date will be in the first Thursday in June. We'll shoot, and then we will release it the following week in June as well. Lastly, fun fact. Did you know that there's an eternal flame in front of the courthouse?
I saw it. I've heard
Have you
of
seen it? Okay, so
there's a
what
myth
the
and
whole
legend.
purpose is it's meant to be to honor the veterans in our community, right?
Right.
Well, the last 2 or 3 years, it's not worked because there was a gas line that went to it that just stopped working. And then when it stopped working, Columbia Gas no longer offered gas to the courthouse.
Okay.
So, or something along the lines of that. So now the new deputy judge executive, Dana Mingy, she's amazing, has made it like her mission to make sure that this eternal flame is going to work. And
so
like
it's gonna
the
come
veteran
back.
community is so grateful and happy to be able to have this back and up and working. It's been just on the minds of everybody, especially the veteran community for the last 3 years, to get this back and going. And so it's very close to having that project completed, and they're going to have the eternal flame back working. I think they've actually put in a new lighting system for the eternal flame, and then they're going to put in a flagpole in front of there and everything. So
That's gonna
it's
be
just
great.
Not like it's a smaller project, but at the same time, like it's a huge thing to see. Like this has made a difference in a group of people's lives in order to have that there.
I mean, it means so much.
It does mean a lot for them. So that's our cute little Bourbon County fun fact that we have right now.
I liked it.
So, well, anyway, we want to say bye for now, and hope you guys enjoyed our Let's Talk Bourbon County podcast for this month, and we will see you next month.
See you later.